Listen carefully. This is not a motivational video. This is not advice. This is a warning. Because most people don't fail loudly. They decay quietly. And the cause is almost never laziness or lack of intelligence. It's proximity. Who you spend time with. Who you tolerate. Who you allow close enough to influence your nervous system without you realizing it. You were taught to fear enemies, to watch out for competitors, to guard against obvious threats. But no one warned you about the slow poison of bad proximity. The people who don't attack you. They just sit next to you, laugh with you, share meals with you, and quietly pull your life downward one decision at a time. This conversation isn't comfortable. It's not meant to be. Because if you're honest, you already feel what I'm about to say. You felt it after certain conversations, after certain hangouts. That strange exhaustion, that dull fog, that sense of shrinking. That's not random. That's psychological contamination. Here's the truth most people never hear. You don't rise or fall based on motivation. You rise or fall based on who you orbit. Human beings are porous. We absorb beliefs, moods, standards, and limits from the people closest to us. Jung called it unconscious participation. Machiavelli called it strategic liability. Nietzsche called it weakness by association. And once you understand this, you can never unsee it, because you'll realize something disturbing. Some of the people closest to you are not evil. They're worse. They're unconscious. And unconscious people are the most dangerous force in any system. This episode is not about judging others, it's about protecting your trajectory, because power is not only built, it is preserved. And most people lose their power not by attack, but by leakage. By the end of this video, you will recognize 8 archetypes, not strangers, familiar faces, friends, family, colleagues, maybe even parts of yourself. And once you see them, the cost of staying close will become impossible to ignore. Let's start with a principle you were never taught. Not everyone in your life deserves equal access to you. Access is power. Attention is power. Proximity is power. Giving it away without discernment is not kindness. It's negligence. Most people think their life problems are personal. They're not. They're environmental. Put a disciplined person in a chaotic environment and they deteriorate. Put an ambitious person around the wrong influences and they lose clarity. This isn't weakness, it's biology. Your nervous system is constantly calibrating to what surrounds it. 1. The moral idiot. Now we enter the first archetype, the one that hides in plain sight, the one society praises, the one no one suspects, the moral idiot. This is the person who is always good, always ethical, always correct, always virtuous. They don't lie, they don't cheat, they don't break rules, and yet everything around them stagnates. Progress slows, decisions rot, momentum dies. The moral idiot doesn't act from strength. They act from fear disguised as virtue. Jung would say they have inflated their moral persona while repressing their shadow. Nietzsche would say they worship goodness because they are afraid of power. Machiavelli would say they are dangerous because they paralyze action. Being around them subtly trains you to hesitate, to overthink, to ask permission from morality instead of reality. Every decision becomes heavy. Every move feels like a potential sin. You start asking, is this fair? Instead of, is this necessary? The hidden cost is guilt. You begin to associate ambition with wrongdoing, strength with selfishness, decisiveness with cruelty. And slowly, without noticing, you become weaker not because you lack will, but because you've been taught to fear your own edge. 2. The loud idiot. Now we move to the loud idiot. This one is easier to spot but harder to escape. The loud idiot talks, constantly, about plans, about goals, about feelings, about drama, about everything that should remain private. They believe transparency is honesty, That openness is trust. That sharing is connection. But Machiavelli warned against this centuries ago. What is known can be intercepted. What is spoken can be used. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is concealment. Being around the loud idiot trains you to leak, to narrate your life instead of building it, to announce instead of execute. Your plans become public before they are strong. Your ideas are exposed before they are ready. And once exposed, they lose force. You begin to feel busy but unprotected, visible but vulnerable. You mistake attention for progress. And then you wonder why nothing solid ever materializes. 3. The emotional idiot. Next is the emotional idiot, the one ruled by feeling. This person feels deeply, reacts intensely. Their inner weather changes constantly. Joy, panic, anger, sadness, excitement, exhaustion, all within a single conversation. They don't regulate emotion, they surrender to it. Jung described this as possession by affect. When emotion takes control, reason steps aside. Nietzsche would say this is weakness pretending to be authenticity. Being close to this person forces you into emotional management. You start choosing words carefully, timing things strategically, walking on invisible landmines. Your life becomes about stability, not growth. Decisions bend to mood. Plans shift based on feelings. And slowly your own emotional discipline erodes. You start excusing inconsistency. You start normalizing chaos. You stop demanding strength from yourself. 4. The victim idiot. Now comes one of the most destructive types, the victim idiot. This person is always wronged, always unlucky, always misunderstood. Nothing is ever their fault. Life happens to them. People betray them. Systems oppress them. At first, your compassion activates. You want to help, to support, to protect. But Machiavelli understood something most people don't. Sympathy is power, and some people weaponize it. The victim idiot uses pain as identity. Their suffering becomes currency, and the hidden cost of staying close is this: you inherit their enemies, their grudges, their limitations, their worldview. You start seeing the world through their wounds. You begin fighting battles that aren't yours. And eventually, when you stop rescuing them, you become the villain in their story. 5. The opinion idiot. Next comes the opinion idiot, the one who always has something to say. They comment on everything, judge constantly, analyze endlessly, but rarely act. Jung would say they project their shadow outward. Nietzsche would say they replace courage with commentary. Being around them infects you with doubt. Every move must be discussed, every idea debated, every decision delayed. Execution slows, confidence dissolves. You begin mistaking intelligence for action. You feel informed but stagnant, smart but unfulfilled, because talking feels like doing. And slowly, without noticing, you stop moving. 6. The nice idiot. Now we reach the nice idiot. This one is subtle, dangerous, and everywhere. They agree with everyone, avoid conflict, say yes when they mean no, smile while resenting. They believe kindness means self-erasure. Jung would call this repressed aggression. Nietzsche would call it weakness wearing virtue's mask. Machiavelli would call it instability. The hidden cost is boundary collapse. You start tolerating things you shouldn't. You absorb resentment you didn't create. Respect fades quietly, and one day you realize no one takes you seriously anymore. 7. The busy idiot. Next is the busy idiot. Always moving, always exhausted, always working. They confuse motion with progress, activity with direction. Jung would say they avoid reflection through movement. Nietzsche would say they fear stillness because stillness reveals truth. Being around them fragments your time, interrupts your focus, shrinks your vision. You start feeling productive without producing anything meaningful. 8. the unconscious idiot. Finally, we arrive at the most dangerous one, the unconscious idiot. This person refuses to reflect, repeats patterns, rejects feedback, never sees themselves clearly. Jung would say they reject the shadow. Nietzsche would say they refuse self-overcoming. Being around them traps you in loops. Same arguments, same mistakes, same stagnation. Growth becomes impossible because evolution requires awareness. Now pause. Because here's the moment most people miss. If you recognized all 8, the question is not who they are. It's why you tolerate them, why you stay, why you adapt downward. This is where the real work begins. Because proximity is a choice, and every choice has a cost. You might be feeling uneasy right now. Not because any of this is shocking, but because it's familiar. Faces are forming in your mind, conversations replaying, moments where you felt smaller than you should have. That discomfort is not fear, it's recognition. And recognition is the beginning of power. Here's what most people never realize. You don't tolerate these people because you're weak. You tolerate them because at some point, they served a purpose. They matched a version of you that no longer exists. But relationships don't expire automatically. They decay until someone has the courage to notice. Jung warned that what we do not confront in ourselves, we meet in others as fate. If you're surrounded by stagnation, chaos, or emotional noise, it's not random. It reflects an unresolved contract inside you, one that once protected you, but now imprisons you. Ask yourself this quietly. What do I gain by staying close to them? Not morally, not socially, psychologically. Do they keep you feeling needed instead of powerful? Do they give you an excuse to stay smaller? Do they distract you from the risk of becoming who you could be? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Cutting proximity is not about cruelty. It's about ending unconscious agreements. Agreements where you trade clarity for comfort, growth for familiarity, power for approval. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He warned that bad allies are more dangerous than open enemies. An enemy sharpens you. A bad ally dulls you while smiling. And by the time you notice, you've forgotten how sharp you once were. Most people wait for a dramatic betrayal to justify distance. They want permission to leave. But power doesn't wait for permission. Power recognizes cost early and acts quietly. You don't need to confront. You don't need to explain. You don't need to accuse. Explanation is often a form of guilt-seeking validation. Silence is cleaner. Distance is clearer. Nietzsche wrote about the necessity of separation. That growth often requires leaving behind those who cannot follow, not out of hatred, but out of inevitability. The tree does not apologize for outgrowing the fence. Here's what happens when you don't adjust proximity. You start negotiating with yourself. You shrink plans to avoid conflict. You delay decisions to avoid judgment. You soften edges to remain acceptable. This is how strong people become invisible. And invisibility is expensive. It costs momentum, it costs self-respect, it costs time. And time is the one resource no philosophy can recover. Now comes the part most people avoid, the internal mirror. Because some of these archetypes don't just exist around you, they exist within you. There may be moments where you were the moral idiot, using goodness to avoid hard decisions. Moments where you were the loud idiot, speaking to feel alive instead of building quietly. Moments where emotion ran your choices, or victimhood protected you from responsibility. This is not an accusation, it's an audit. Power begins with ruthless self-honesty, without shame, without drama, just clarity. The goal is not isolation. The goal is alignment. Not everyone needs to be removed. Some need to be repositioned. Different access, different distance, different weight. Think of your life as a system. Inputs determine outputs. If your inputs are chaotic, no amount of discipline will save you. If your environment punishes clarity, clarity will fade. This is why high-functioning people guard their inner circle obsessively. Not because they are arrogant, but because they understand entropy. Everything left unattended decays. You don't owe everyone closeness. You owe yourself coherence. Now here's where most people sabotage themselves. They confuse solitude with loneliness. They fear the quiet that follows separation. But that quiet is not emptiness. It's signal returning. When the noise leaves, you hear yourself again. Your instincts sharpen. Your energy stabilizes. Your thinking slows down in the right way. This is not loss. This is recovery. Jung believed that individuation requires withdrawal, a turning inward, a willingness to stand apart from the collective long enough to hear your own voice. Without that, you remain a reflection, never an origin. The people who benefit most from your constant availability will resist this change. They will sense distance before you announce it. They may provoke, guilt trip, accuse you of changing. They are not wrong. You are changing. Do not explain the change. Explanation invites negotiation. Negotiation invites regression. Let your consistency do the talking. Let your absence teach what words never could. Over time, something strange happens. The right people move closer. The wrong ones drift away. Without drama, without confrontation. Systems correct themselves when you stop interfering. You'll notice your attention returning, your ambition waking up, your tolerance for nonsense shrinking. This is not becoming cold. This is becoming precise. Precision is misunderstood. It looks like indifference to those who benefited from your confusion. Now listen carefully. Power does not require you to harden your heart. It requires you to stop bleeding energy unconsciously. Compassion with boundaries is strength. Compassion without boundaries is self-erasure. You are not here to save everyone. You are here to build something coherent. A life that doesn't leak. A mind that isn't constantly recalibrating to chaos. And yes, some people will never understand. They will call you distant, changed, cold. Let them. Their labels are evidence that the old contracts are breaking. Remember this. You don't owe consistency to versions of yourself that no longer exist. As you curate proximity, you'll face a new challenge. Responsibility. Because without excuses, without distractions, without emotional noise, there is nowhere left to hide. That is the real fear. Not losing people. Losing the ability to blame them. But this is also where freedom begins. When you stop outsourcing your state of mind. When you stop letting unconscious people write the emotional script of your life. Nietzsche believed that strength is the ability to stand alone without becoming bitter. Machiavelli believed that power is the ability to act without needing approval. Jung believed that wholeness comes from integrating, not performing. All three converge here. Curate proximity, integrate shadow, act decisively. This is not a call to isolation. It's a call to sovereignty. Your life will not become louder. It will become quieter, cleaner, sharper. And in that quiet, something rare emerges. Direction. You'll know who belongs, not by how they feel, but by how you function around them. Do you think clearly? Do you act decisively? Do you feel stronger afterward? That's the test. Not loyalty, not history, not obligation. Function. The hidden cost of staying close to the wrong people is not drama. It's delay. Years lost. Potential dulled. Futures negotiated down. And the hidden reward of choosing wisely is not applause. It's alignment. The feeling that your life finally fits. This is where I leave you. Not with instructions, but with a question that only you can answer. Who in your life amplifies clarity? And who quietly taxes it? Answer honestly, act quietly, and protect what you're becoming.